Welcome back. Ed Martin here on a Pro America Report. Our next guest is John O'Connor. And I should tell you, John, that I was on a call with some of my Eagle colleagues, and one of them said, is this John O'Connor, the guy that wrote Postgate and all about Deep Throat? And I said, yeah, it is. And he said, oh, I can't wait to hear that interview. So good for you there. That's one of your books. John O'Connor is a former assistant U.S. attorney in Northern California, did both civil and criminal cases, and wrote a book that's called Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. So first of all, welcome, John, to the program. How are you?
Hey, Ed, good to be with you.
Before we get to St. Louis, which I want to talk about because it's my stomping grounds, answer me this about that last thing. Today's partisan advocacy journalism. Here's my question. Almost day after day, it gets more ridiculous, the coverage and what they're doing. And here's the sort of, to me, the kill shot. Rasmussen had a poll that of the 2018 voters, people who voted in the 2018, which was a landslide for, Democrats won everything. And 30% of the people were convinced of the Russia hoax. And that was just a hoax that the media had to know. They had to know. They were in on Schiff was in on it. That's easy. Warner was in on it in the Senate Intelligence. But the media knew it was not a real thing. And yet they pounded the message into the American people so that 30% of the people believe the Russia hoax. So, John, are we at the end of journalism? Because now we have regular CNN and everybody else is just making half the country, 40% of the country crazy with what they're doing. I mean, it's so much worse than the Deep Throat, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because Deep Throat still was at a time when there were standards in journalism. And if your audience goes to my book site, postgatebook.com, forget about my book for the time being. I'm not doing that to flack my book, but I've got maybe 25, 30 op-eds, generally on the same subject about the way the media reports things. And I explain there how the media knew all the facts they needed to know about the Russiagate being nothing. I wrote about it in 2017 and said it was like Jerry Seinfeld's show, a show about nothing. And that's what it was. Same with Ukrainegate, but they do not tell you that. Now, why don't they tell you that? Because now journalism has jumped the shark from where it was in 72. How do you measure a good journalist? In the past, it was who, what, when, where, why. Are you impartial? Do you appear to be telling both sides of everything? That's how a journalist got his stripes. You appeared to be impartial, like Walter Cronkite was very left, but he appeared to be impartial. Now, how do you measure success? These guys measure success by their political impact. And once your political impact, once you are on a team, which is what Watergate taught, you can get best-selling books, Oscar-winning movies, a lot of money, fame, and fortune. Your newspaper can go to great heights. Your corporation can be worth a lot of money if you get a scalp on the wall. So that's the way you measure effect now. Do you get points for your candidate? Are you boosting him in the polls? Are you depressing Trump's polls, et cetera, et cetera? Once those people put on a jersey, they're not journalists anymore.
It is. It's amazing, but to me, it's amazing. It's almost like it's. And I give Trump credit. He kind of exposed them. They went crazy, and as they went crazy, exposed them. Now, I don't want to let this go because we're talking with John O'Connor, who he's a lot of things. He's a lawyer. He's an author and a columnist, but he's a lawyer first and was a prosecutor in St. Louis. I happen to know that. I lived 2 blocks from where the McCloskeys lived. I didn't live in the big houses. I lived in an apartment, a rental apartment. Between McCloskey's house and my house was the boyhood home of T.S. Eliot, which I loved to go past. It was really great, also much humbler. On McPherson, and a block the other way was the childhood home of Phyllis Schlafly. I mean, she grew up about a block and a half. Anyway, so we're back to McCloskey. I happen to know the prosecutor, the assistant prosecutor in the city. who his name's Chris Brinkley. I might be pronouncing Hinckley. Chris Hinckley. Sorry, I was thinking of John Hinckley. Chris Hinckley, who said to the guys, "Go check that gun. If it's not put together right, put it together right." And they did. And I know the guy. He's a good retired Navy pilot and a decent guy. I thought. I mean, it's crazy. But how are they, John O'Connor? How are they going to prosecute the McCloskeys? The gun the wife had didn't work, so she wasn't using. She knew it wasn't a gun, so she's got a different level of knowing what she could do. And he made clear in every interview he was fearful of his life and his property. Isn't that standard stand your ground stuff?
Well, first of all, Missouri has, of course, the Castle Doctrine to protect your home, which gives them added heft should they have attacked them. Now, they didn't attack them, so they didn't need to shoot their weapons in self-defense. But here's my point. To get that charge, the charge is flourishing, as they say it in Missouri. Out in California, it'd be brandishing. Same thing. You're waving your weapon around in a manner that suggests that you're going to shoot somebody. And, of course, when I think somebody's going to shoot me, that's really something that is a fearsome event. But there's no doubt from looking at the film, that the McCloskeys were not acting offensively. They're acting defensively, and they were not brandishing or flourishing. They were basically displaying. So if you've got a Second Amendment right, can't you display your weapons and say, look, you guys, here's what they're saying. We're all cool now. You take this up and you escalate it. We're just letting you know I got guns. That's all they were doing. Now, that's not flourishing or brandishing. Now, if you're a St. Louis guy, I have buddies there, and that area of town is very cool that you're talking about. It's near the Chase Hotel, the old houses. I love it. But what I would say is this. The McCloskey's got the two best lawyers in St. Louis. They got Joel Schwartz and Scott Rosenblum, two of the best five, I'd say. They're going to wipe the floor with this prosecutor who's just out of her depth. The criminal defense bar there, which is largely minority, a lot of minority, very good minority lawyers, they don't like her. They think she's not doing her job. She's not protecting the minority community, and she's not charging crimes that should be charged. And instead she's charging this one. There's no way that there's going to be a conviction on this one. It's just unfortunate, though, that the message she's sending out is in favor of the mob, in favor of the looters, and against people who are defending. I mean, if anybody should be charged in this, it's the threatening behavior of the mob. They were the ones that were assaultive. Assaultive meaning you are putting someone else in fear of their safety. Why did the McCloskeys end their meal? Because they were just having fun, or because they were scared out of their minds? They were scared out of their minds. Yeah.
And let me ask you another thing. Again, we're talking with John O'Connor, who's in private practice now, and you can look his stuff up. His law firm is joclaw.com, former federal prosecutor. But there's another example of things that have changed. These prosecutors now, Gardner ran in the primary. There's no Republicans that can win in the city of St. Louis, all Democrats. So the primary is it. In the primary, there's like 7 candidates. 2 or 3 are actually prosecutors or even public defenders. She's not, but she's funded by Soros. And once she's in office, she's totally gone for that agenda. Now, I know there's a history in the law and in American jurisprudence of prosecutorial discretion, but there was supposed to be bounds. You know, it's like Peter Strzok was supposed to be, if he had biases, the FBI agent who showed he was really very, very, in my mind, very poorly trained and a bad actor, he should have put his biases aside because he was highly trained, because he'd signed on to do that job. He was an FBI agent. I don't believe every FBI agent has 0 biases, but we used to have state prosecutors, city prosecutors who put aside their biases and did their job. Now they're just political hacks, right?
Well, that's right. And what we have is, yes, there's prosecutorial discretion, but there's also this little thing called an oath, where you swear that you're going to uphold the laws you're sworn to enforce. And that's not exactly done by Soros and them. So that's the answer to this prosecutorial discretion. There's such a thing in the law, very well recognized, called abusive discretion. And if there's abusive discretion, Kim Gardner's doing that right now.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it. John, I'm sorry to say time flies. John O'Connor, I should have I talked less and had you talk more. We'll have you on again. John O'Connor, and I'll put up his website, which I think will be valuable too. I was in there while we were talking, postgatebook.com, and /articles. You'll see a bunch of his stuff. So thanks, John, for being on.
Hey, Ed, great. Good to be with you. Let's do it again, huh?
We will. We'll do it again. Okay, thanks, John. We'll take a quick break and be right back. It's Ed Martin here on the Pro America Report. Be back in one moment.